Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of Coming Distractions brought to you by the Nerdpocalypse podcast. I'm your host, Jay. I'm here with my co-host this week, Jack.
What's up?
All right, guys. It's a horror movie, so I brought Jack back, and it's a Stephen King horror movie, so of course. Obviously, we talked about Gerald's Game last time you were here.
Right.
So this week, we are here to review 1922. This is the new Netflix original film based on an adaptation of Stephen King's novella of the same title. This was written and directed by Zach Hilditch and starring Thomas Jane, Dylan Schmid, and Molly Parker. Before we get into our thoughts on the movie, the general premise is pretty easy. It's 1922. There's a farmer, his wife, and his son. The wife wants to sell the farm and move to the city. And the husband's like, no, city living's for fools. So he decides to team up with his son and convince his son to kill the mother, and then they'd be able to live their lives without her as a headache. And then things just go left from there with like haunting and that sort of thing. So
yeah,
what did you think? Did you read the novella?
I did. It's part of one of Stephen King's short story collections, which is the name I can't remember. It didn't stick with me, which I think was pretty obvious in the film. Like, this isn't something that screams feature film, right? This is very much, as you watch it, something that makes sense that Netflix picked it up and did what they did with it. It's a very much a morality play, right? About
it is. Why
you're not a sinner, why you don't commit any of the 7 deadly sins,
right?
And that's exactly what happens. He's greedy. He commits murder that leads to other things that may or may not even be supernatural, really, because
it could be just in his head.
What's going on with the guy. But the reason to watch this, the reason to come and watch this on Netflix is Thomas Jane's performance.
I thought it was pretty impressive.
I mean,
I thought so.
He portrays a man in 1922 perfectly.
Yeah,
it just falls right into the role.
It was kind of amazing to watch it and go, wow, that accent is so damn good.
It took me a minute to realize it was Thomas Jane.
Yeah,
I was watching it. I was like, is that Thomas Jane?
It was,
and then I had to look it up.
It was funny because one of the other guys on our show is Terrence, who's done some reviews here. He was like, who's the actor in that? And I was like, it's Thomas Jane. He was like, really? I was like, yeah, because he hadn't finished it, but he had watched some of it when we talked, and he didn't even realize it was Thomas Jane either.
Yeah, just it falls into the role, does a great job. Molly Parker is fine for the brief amount of time that she's in.
Yeah, she's a very good actress, but yeah, she's not in it that often or that long.
Right. The son, the character who plays the son, I forget his name.
Dylan Schmid.
Dylan Schmid is good. Neil McDonough is in it as like not really the villain, but kind of like the antagonist. There's a lot of good like B-level actors that are in this, and it's fun to watch. It doesn't stand out very much.
Fun.
This movie
really bothered me.
It's fucked up to watch. There are some early scenes with rats where
do not care for it.
If you're eating dinner, this is not the film to watch while you're eating, as I learned. Which is why it took me 2 days to finish watching this. But I can't recommend it as like a horror film because it's not really.
No, it's much more of a drama in that way.
Yeah, it really is. It's more of a drama. It's more of like you can tell from the very first scene how bad this is going to go for this man. And if you want to watch the downfall of a man, and as horribly as it possibly could be in 1922, then this is the film for you. But it's worth watching for the acting. It has one little hint to Stephen King's larger works.
Oh yeah, what's that?
It takes place in the same small town that Mother Abigail from The Stand lived in, where they found her.
Oh, interesting.
In the Stand.
I'm reading The Stand now, which is very good.
Good book.
It's gonna take me 7 years to read it.
Forever. Yeah. Especially the unabridged one. Did you get the big one?
Yeah, I did. Well, it's on my Kindle, but
you could kill a rat with it if you had to.
I think they were like, it's like 400 extra pages. I was like, ridiculous. Oh, come on.
It's good though. This doesn't really stand out as part of the overall mythos, but if you like Thomas Jane at all, it's fun to watch him come back.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a good Netflix movie. It's fun to watch this time of year. It's worth a watch. I'd give it probably 3.5 out of 5.
Yeah, I think I would probably say 3. I think 3.5 because Jane's performance is a real standout.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought his performance was as good, if not better, than Carla Guginu's performance in Gerald's Game, which she really stood out.
Yeah.
Another actress who has done some good roles, but has never had like a big, huge starring role. I mean, Thomas Jane did, and then he kind of fell off for a bit. And I feel like it was the same for her, where they were able to get like a name a face you recognize. But then, given this sort of bottle film, they were able to like really shine, which I thought was kind of cool.
Absolutely. And this is Thomas Jane's third Stephen King film,
The Mist.
and The Mist.
Oh, I didn't realize he was in Dreamcatcher.
Yeah, which is one of the more fucked up Stephen King novels.
I think I saw maybe the first 30 minutes of that, and I was like,
a man births an alien out of his asshole.
I'm good.
Yeah. Just saying.
Spoiler alert for Dreamcatcher.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that. I mean, it falls kind of in the middle of my interest with his other works. I mean, this isn't that great. It isn't that horrible. It's good to watch for Thomas Jane's performance. I hope this is the start of a good Thomas Jane comeback because I'd like to see more from him.
Yeah, I like Thomas Jane.
And again, I think it's great that Stephen King stuff is getting adapted because no matter what else you can say about this, it's interesting, right? It's a good story.
Look, and I am not by any means a horror person. Like, I'm not like, I got to see whatever Paranormal Activity movies. Like, I don't watch any of that stuff. I'm a total chicken. But I like King's adaptations not that they're all good, but I like his stories because he actually takes the time to do like heavy detail and things like that make for like Gerald's Game to me really stood out just because of how detailed each moment in that story is, right? Where you're just like, wow, okay, we're really going to concentrate on her getting water or getting out of these handcuffs or like whatever. And in this movie, they take the time to really like, the movie doesn't just start, stabs his wife and then like it gets running. There's a bit of time where they really build, like there's a whole thing in the movie about him building up to literally hating his wife. To the point where he's like, okay, I can kill this woman.
Right.
And
he manipulates his son so well into being an accomplice and really preys on the juvenile emotions of being 15. And like, he's a great character. Wilfred, who's the last name I forget, Wilfred something.
Wilfred James.
Wilfred James, is a great character. And Thomas Jane does a great job with it.
Yeah, I thought so.
I would like to see more from both Thomas Jane and Netflix with Stephen King stuff.
Well, they seem to. That's 2. I mean, they got 2 for 2 so far.
Thomas Jane could have played the Man in Black if they would just done a Netflix adaptation of
The Dark Tower.
Dark Tower. Yeah.
I feel like there is probably a decent chance they go back to the Dark Tower and try to do it again in maybe in this kind of format, because for them to get 2 King adaptations in a row right and to be legitimately enjoyed. People seem to be pretty positive on both of them, and not having to spend the amount of money where you could break the Dark Tower up in maybe 5 movies, whatever.
Did I tell you I watched it? It's bad.
Oh yeah, no, I haven't seen it yet, but I heard nothing but bad things.
Not good at all. It's because it is really poorly written. Yeah, and it is not well directed. Yeah, which is a shame because Idris Elba is like the ultimate father figure in that movie, and he's given so little to work with.
That's what I heard, and Matthew McConaughey too.
Same too. He says McConaughey has the corniest lines come out of his mouth, and you could tell he's just not feeling it, which is a shame.
So yeah, I mean, I think the chances of, King has, not to get too far off topic, but King has, I think, 5 film adaptations in the works.
I believe you.
So they're coming and they're moving quick. So that's cool. And I like the ones that I don't know. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I didn't know Gerald's Game. I didn't know 1922. Right. Like the ones that are based on novellas and stuff like that. That to me is probably going to work better because people won't go in with a lot of preconceived notions.
That's exactly what I was going to say. That is a very smart point. It's easier and better for them to adapt this lesser known stuff because people's expectations are so much less. Yeah.
If they exist at all.
If they shouldn't have started this run up with the Dark Tower.
It's too big of a story.
They should have waited, and now, can you imagine if Dark Tower just was getting produced now with the runaway success of it? You could have gotten better writers, better directors.
Yeah, you could have. Yeah, it's funny because it was the one that kind of threw them full on into it, and now look what you got. So
I hope they come back around to it.
Yeah, All right. Well, there you go. So that is our review and a little bit of just general Stephen King news. So our review for 1922, 3.5 out of 5.
3.5.
Definitely worth it. Again, it's a Netflix original film, so go check that out. We just put up 2 other Netflix original film reviews for The Babysitter and Wheelman, so also go check those out. And subscribe to Coming Distractions on wherever you get your podcast, and you can also watch these reviews in video format on youtube.com/the Nerdpocalypse, and we will see you guys next time.
Later. Bye.